Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is starting to massively bounce from this level of support, potentially bringing this price collapse towards the end of the collapse, at least for now, while XRP is also now bouncing from this important level of support. So yes, just over the last one day, I've now closed out of my XRP short position, securing huge profits, of course, and I've just now opened a new trading strategy right now, which is a short-term trading strategy. And yes, you read the title and thumbnail right. This is a $5 million trading strategy, which I'll be sharing in just a moment. What my plan is here to make some very easy money in the coming hours and days. So definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a really quick look at the US stock market today. This is the S&P 500 index on the 1 hour time frame, and as of recording this video, it's coming to a close for the day and of course for the week. And over this last one day here, we can of course see a bounce in the short term, a short-term recovery finally a little bit after that previous pullback that we saw over the last few days for really the last week or so. And so once again, as I always say, the Bitcoin and crypto market and the stock market are highly correlated. So if we see some sort of decent bounce like this in the stock market, expect some sort of decent bounce in the shorter term for Bitcoin and crypto is a very likely scenario, which is indeed now starting to happen. So keep that in mind throughout the video. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the weekly time frame, nothing's really changed over the last one day. This super trend indicator still sitting in the red, and of course this bearish divergence technically still active, still playing out on the weekly time frame. So keep that in mind. Don't really expect a lot of strength or massive bullish momentum on the larger time frames. Here on the weekly time frame, of course, we could see short-term bounces, short-term bullish moves here and there, but the bigger picture still not looking too good. But it is worth pointing out that we're now hitting oversold in the weekly Bitcoin RSI, and the last time this happened was around mid-2022, and what came next was a bit of a bullish relief in the coming weeks, or really over the next 1 month or so. But remember, this is not necessarily a bottom signal. It is possible we can go lower later on. And so when we consider that right now, taking a look at the daily Bitcoin price chart, it's likely that this massive collapse, just for now, talking about the next few days or so, maybe even the next couple of weeks, is potentially coming to an end. Once again, this is not necessarily the bottom. It is possible we can go lower at some stage later on. But considering how massive this bounce has been over the last one day, obviously we've seen some major bounces, not just for Bitcoin, but a lot of the altcoin markets actually having some quite decent bounces just in the short term, obviously still way down from the highs. But considering the size of this bounce, it is likely now that this is at least a local low, which means at least for the next few days, most likely the next couple of weeks, will likely remain above this low right here, which for Bitcoin is sitting at roughly 60,000. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, we can see that once again, we bounced at $60,000, which is now of course a level of support to watch out for. And it is of course a psychological level to watch out for. It's $60,000 exactly. So obviously we have support now at that level, and we also have this area of support towards the downside in between 53,000 to 56,000 if we eventually break below 60,000. But once again, as I just mentioned, I do expect the price to now hold above that 60k level at least for the next few days, possibly another few weeks or so. But remember, that does not mean that I'm expecting a massive bullish reversal with high momentum towards the upside. I'm not saying that as well. Obviously, once again, on the weekly time frames here, these are still not looking too good, still basically pointing towards a lack in bullish momentum. So yes, we could see shorter term bounces, and yes, we'll likely hold above this low for some time, maybe a couple of weeks, but overall, obviously don't necessarily expect a massive move towards all-time highs, at least not right now, not straight away. And we need to understand where points of resistance are sitting at, where the price could start to struggle at or possibly reject from. For example, this area is a crucial area here on the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, sitting in between around 72,000 to 76,000 based on previous significant resistance and also previous significant support, which will now likely act as strong resistance, once again in between 72k to 76k. And we're also, alongside bouncing obviously from this psychological level of support at 60,000, we're also obviously playing out an oversold signal, not just on the daily time frame, but also here on the 3-day time frame, playing out a clear oversold signal, telling us that we went too far to the downside too quickly, and we now need a little bit of time time to reset the RSI just in the shorter term, maybe for the next 1 or 2 weeks or so, which means either choppy sideways price action or a slight bullish relief. And obviously we're already starting with a bounce here in the short term, but most likely this bounce will soon start to slow down, especially as we approach this major area of resistance, and then maybe start to stabilize a little bit like this in the coming days. And so basically my shorter term prediction for the coming days or possibly weeks is the price to honestly most likely remain somewhat range bounds between this support at around 60,000 and this resistance in the mid 70k area, acting as strong resistance. Once again, will likely soon slow down the bounce, but once again, not necessarily crash below this low straight away, ultimately causing a little bit of choppy sideways price action in the coming days or weeks. But if we're talking about the next multiple months, we're still not in the clear yet if we're talking about the weekly time frame. But the good news is, of course, we've pretty much wiped out all of the downside liquidity that's relatively close to the price of Bitcoin. And obviously, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, like what I've been doing recently for especially altcoins, which I'll talk about in just a moment, my exact trading strategy. But if you want to actually take these sort of trades for yourself, you need to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below this video will take you to this page right here over on the BTNext crypto exchange, which by the way is also a no KYC exchange. And currently, as you can see right here, there's an exclusive prize pool of up to 50,000 USDT in prizes just by simply trading crypto using that link below the video to BTNext. So obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out and take advantage of this. Once again, first link below the video. And remember, BTNext is also a no KYC exchange. But if you want another option out there, another exchange that I also use myself, which I'll also explain in just a moment, why I've just taken a bit of profits out of my XRP shorts position over the last 1 day from this exchange. In that situation, of course, check out the second link below the video to this exchange, which I've been trading XRP on, which is of course the 2bit crypto exchange. That second link below the video will take you to this page right here, where there's currently a massive event happening with 800,000 USD in prizes just by simply trading crypto using that second link below the video to 2bit. So obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, once again, you might as well check this out. You might as well take advantage of this. Once again, second link below the video. And in case you're wondering, yes, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, now taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the daily time frame. And right now, obviously, the Bitcoin dominance is still just range bound. Yes, we can play out short-term bullish moves, short-term bearish moves, but for the most part, we're basically just chopping around relatively sideways, which is still telling us that a lot of the major altcoins out there on average will likely perform very similar to whatever Bitcoin is doing. So not necessarily much better or much worse. And just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, which is an important part to my upcoming trading strategy, first taking a quick look at, of course, Ethereum, which on the 3-day time frame did indeed break below this crucial area of support here, which was sitting in between roughly 2.2k to 2.4k, and we almost made it all the way down towards the next significant area of support here, sitting in between 1.5k to 1.6k. But obviously we hit oversold in the 3-day Ethereum RSI, just like on the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, hitting oversold and playing out a bounce. Obviously that's also helping Ethereum, but not only that, we also perfectly bounced from this exact Fibonacci level on the daily Ethereum price chart, which is sitting at around 1.8k. And so remember, as I've been saying over and over again here on the channel, before we broke below around 2150, 2.2k, before we broke towards the downside, I said if we break below 2150, if we break below around 2.2k, in that situation, expect very easily a drop down towards 1.8k as the next massive support to watch out for, at least in the short term, where we could likely bounce from. And obviously we've seen exactly that. We've bounced from pretty much exactly 1.8k, especially if we're basing off the daily candle close here. And once again, as I just said earlier, Ethereum, along with a lot of major altcoins, will likely play out very similar price action to whatever Bitcoin is doing. So obviously my Bitcoin prediction that I just mentioned a moment ago is most likely the price remaining somewhat range bound, basically just letting the dust settle a little bit after this major move is quite likely in the coming days or possibly weeks. Obviously, watch out for resistance along the way towards the upside where the price could struggle at, but we've most likely put in the local low, at least for the next few days or possibly weeks, which means obviously expect something very similar for Ethereum. We're most likely have now put in the local low in place. Once again, not not necessarily the bottom, but just some sort of low that could likely last for at least the next few days, possibly the next few weeks. And then obviously watch out for points of resistance along the way towards the upside if we continue this bounce, where the price could start to struggle at or possibly reject from, especially this area in between around 2150 to 2250. So at give or take 2.2k, slightly either side of 2.2k, I would expect a lot of resistance around there, and also a lot of resistance at 2.6k if the price were to actually get back up there. But for now, obviously, it is unlikely would hit these much higher price targets, at least not straight away. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, obviously, the bigger picture is still not looking good for XRP. If we're talking about, say, the next multiple weeks or multiple months, sort of the longer term situation, still not looking too good. We're still playing out a massive bearish divergence. But if we're talking about the somewhat short to midterm, as in the next few days or possibly even the next few weeks, it is now quite likely that we've put in at least a local low. Once again, not necessarily the bottom. Yes, it is possible we can go lower at some stage later on, maybe in a month from now, for example, but just for the next few days or possibly weeks, it is quite likely that this is the local low for the price of XRP, which means the price would likely play out just a bit of a relief in the coming days or weeks here. And we can notice that the price pretty much perfectly bounced from this 50% retracement level, the previous 50% retracement level back here, which was sitting at around $1.12 to $1.13, which pretty much to the nearest cent is exactly where the price bounced from, which is obviously sitting right in between two key areas on the price chart. Obviously, the lower price target here was at around 90 cents to $1. And then, of course, this first significant price target that I've been talking about since much higher prices for many months now on the channel was sitting in between $1.30 to $1.40, which obviously we already hit that target and even surpassed that target. But considering how close the price got towards $1, obviously we made it down towards roughly $1.12, $1.13, considering we also bounced from that retracement level right there, and also considering the Bitcoin bounce and my prediction for Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. Overall, due to all of this reasoning, I have just basically closed this XRP short position, at least for now. Now, of course, maybe in a few weeks from now, after we first play out a little bit more of a relief, I may look to add to a short or really open a new shorts position potentially, but I'm not really planning to do that right this moment, considering, once again, as I just said a moment ago, we're likely going to play out a little bit more of a relief. So I'll just wait and see for a new entry. If we start to see new bearish signals, of course, I'll let you know about it here on the channel if I open any new trade for XRP. But as you can see right here on my 2bit account, once again, I've basically reduced the size of this XRP short position all the way down towards basically nothing now, pretty much closed the trade. And you can see right here the total P&L, factoring in all of the fees. Obviously, if I zoom out a little bit, you can see all of this information for yourself, and obviously the P&L right here, factoring in all of the fees, etc. Over 12,100 USD in profits in just a few days while the price dumped. And so obviously, if you followed along with a similar trade, congratulations. Hopefully some of you out there made a bunch of quick and easy money while the prices were dumping here with short positions like what I just did over the last few days. But of course, if you missed this trading opportunity, I have just opened a new trading opportunity, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Not financial advice, just simply sharing what I'm doing to make a lot of quick and easy money in this crypto market, no matter what direction the prices go. So if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, we can see that right now, a lot of the Bitcoin funding rates are, of course, slightly negative, which is a slightly bullish signal actually for Bitcoin and really a lot of these altcoins if they have negative funding rates. But what I really want to draw your attention to here is the arbitrage opportunity in specifically the Solana funding rates. We can clearly see right now, one funding rate is definitely out of the ordinary, especially for Solana. Obviously, we have a slight little situation here for XRP, but really a bigger situation for Solana, a clear arbitrage opportunity where we have a massive difference in funding rates. And in case you're new to all of this, basically all you really need to know is if the funding rate is positive, in this case for Solana on the BTNX exchange, if the funding rate is positive, then the long long positions pay the short positions this funding rate fee every 8 hours, whereas if the funding rate is negative, then the short positions on these exchanges are paying that funding rate as a fee to the long positions. And so I'm utilizing this arbitrage for Solana right now, which first, taking a really quick look at the Solana price chart here on the 3-day time frame, we can see a clear bounce from this exact area of support here, sitting in between around $75 to $80. So right now, once again, that's likely the local low put in place. Once again, not necessarily the bottom forever. Yes, it is possible we can go lower at some stage later on, but at least in the coming days or most likely weeks, we'll likely hold above this local low, which is really sitting at around $67. And we're also playing out an oversold signal on the 3-day Solana RSI, which means once again, expect either a bit more of a bullish relief or maybe just some choppy sideways price action in the coming days or weeks. So once again, holding above the local low is a very likely scenario, at least in the shorter term. And the next significant resistance to watch out for is at around $95 to $105. But with my trading strategy right now for Solana, once again, I'm looking to arbitrage these funding rate fees, which basically means I'm not necessarily betting on bullish or bearish price action. I'm what's called delta neutral right now, which means it doesn't matter if the price goes up or down. It really doesn't matter at all. I'm making money either way. So if the price goes up, I'm making money. If the price goes down, I'm making money. It doesn't matter if the price goes up or down because I'm delta neutral. And so if we're actually taking a look at this strategy in play right now, we could see that it's across 2 different exchanges. Now, it's very important that one of the exchanges has to really be the BTNX exchange, considering that is really the massive difference in the funding rate fees. Obviously, if we're wanting to arbitrage the funding rates, really it's only BTNX that has the extremely positive rate. Pretty much all of these other exchanges are negative. And so once again, we have to have a trade set up on 2 different exchanges at the same time, which I'll explain in just a moment. One of the exchanges really has to be the BTNX exchange for this reason we're at here. The other exchange can be basically any of these exchanges right here that have a negative funding rate fee. And so you can see right here, this is my BTNX account right now. And currently I'm in a $2.5 million Solana short position, but over on my Bybit account, I'm currently in a $2.5 million Solana long position. So overall, $5 million trading strategy here, half of it short, half of it long. So that's what I mean by delta neutral. If the price goes up, the long's making money, the short's losing an equal amount of money. If the price goes down, the short's making money, the long is losing an equal amount of money. So if the price goes up or down, it doesn't matter. They just cancel each other out. But once again, because right now over on the Bybit exchange, at least as of recording this video, the funding rate is negative for the Solana USDT perpetual futures right here, which means my long position is earning this funding rate fee every 8 hours on the total size of the trade. Whereas on this Solana trade right here over on the BTNX exchange, once again, the funding rate is extremely positive, which means the short position is earning that funding rate fee every 8 hours. And so if we're calculating the expected profits from these funding rate fees to actually show you what ultimately the outcome for this trade looks like, copying the current funding rate on the BTNX exchange, which is roughly 0.08%, if we're going over here, dividing that by 100 to get it into decimals, and then times by the total position size, which is roughly 2.5 million on this side of the trade, and then times by 3 because it's every 8 hours, so times by 3, that gives us about 6,000 USD per day just by having this trade open. Once again, it's delta neutral, so it doesn't matter if the price goes up or down, and it's passively making 6,000 USD per day, and that's just on the BTNX side. Now, if we're going to the Bybit side, and if we copy this funding rate here and put that into the calculator, we could see that divided by 100 to put it into decimals, times by the position size, which is roughly 2.5 million, times by 3, because remember, it's every 8 hours the funding rate is charged. So right now that's 1590 USD per day. So if we're adding to the BTNX side of the trade, right now it's making around 7,000 to 8,000 USD per day just from arbitraging these rates. Once again, it doesn't matter if the price goes up or down, it's it's just passively printing an easy and basically a free 7,000 to 8,000 USD per day from this trading strategy based on the current rates. But of course, it's important to understand that these rates pretty much change all the time. So it's likely that this arbitrage will close within a couple of days, potentially tomorrow. It might be half as much. And of course, it's also important to understand that both of these trades, to remain delta neutral, they need to open at the same time and of course close at the same time. So what if one gets stopped out? What if one gets liquidated? Of course, the other needs to close at the same time. So due to that reasoning, I have obviously stop losses and take profits for both of these trades right here. So you could see, for example, the BTNX trade, the short position, the stop loss is just before the liquidation price. And you can notice on the Bybit trade, the take profit is at the exact stop loss price for the BTNX trade. Once again, the take profit for the Bybit trade is at the same price. And so in other words, if the price pumps towards basically the liquidation price for the short position, then that automatically closes both of the trades. It stops out the short and then take profits the long. And it's basically the exact opposite for the other direction. And so that is my current trading strategy after just securing over 12,000 USD in profits from the short position for XRP. Once again, this is now my next trading strategy, starting to potentially make some major profits here in the coming hours and days from the funding rate arbitrage. And remember, if you want to take a look at these exchanges, Bybit, BTNX, 2bit, any of these exchanges, I have links below this video to those exchanges if you want to take advantage of extra bonuses that you can claim using those links below the video. And that also, of course, helps support the channel. So you might as well do that if you're going to be trading crypto anyway. It's no extra cost to you. But if we're taking a look at Chainlink on the 3-day time frame, right now the price of Chainlink, really quick here, is bouncing from this important area of support here, which was sitting at roughly $8 based on the 3-day candle close. We pretty much bounced from pretty much exactly $8, only a couple of cents below $8. And of course, we also hit well into oversold in the 3-day Chainlink RSI, telling us that we're most likely now going to see either a bit of a bounce or just maybe a sideways consolidation in the coming days or weeks. There's a very likely scenario, obviously following Bitcoin and a lot of the major altcoins in the coming days or weeks. So it is quite likely that at least for the next 1 or 2 weeks, maybe longer, maybe shorter, but that sort of time frame will likely hold above this low. This is now likely the local low, not necessarily the bottom forever, but at least the local low for the next couple of weeks at around $7.20 here. And once again, we have a lot of support at give or take $8, and the next massive resistance to watch out for is in between around $9.50 to $10. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves, check out the links below this video to those exchanges to take advantage of some massive bonuses that are only available using those links for those certain exchanges. And of course, if you want to know how you can take these sort of trades for yourself to make a lot of quick and easy profits in the crypto market, like what I've been sharing fully for free here on YouTube over the last few days, then definitely watch these videos popping up right on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.